let's dive in and I will explain generally the setup, and then I will go much more in details of what I have here, why and how it works. The first part is that I divided the desk to a working space where here I generally work. I do emails, I do calls, I do all the things that are just a normal day-to-day work. And then in this side I have my control in my whole life in regards to streaming. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screens that I'm working with. And what I have here is my control, which I do everything through this iPad that has the touch portal, and the touch portal have different pages to control different parts of the production. Then I have here my camera, it's a Sony 7C, that I look into this teleprompter, and on this teleprompter I will have the presentation or the Zoom call or whatever. So when I talk to the person, I talk into the camera and I see what I want to see. And then here usually I have all the extra communication, so comments, any kind of things that are part of the control. Here on the right I have a screen that connected to the Atem Extreme. The Atem Extreme is a unit that controls 8 HDMI inputs, which we'll explain much more in details later. So here I have an iPad. This iPad is basically I'm using as a drawing board, and you will see that if I will move into this camera, which is camera number 8 in my case, I see the iPad, and whatever I do here will show there, and of course it will be transmitted into the stream. Okay, now the sound, the input sound, the microphones. I have this microphone here and I have that microphone there. They are both controlled by the Apollo Twin, and basically the Apollo Twin allow me through the software to control the quality of the sound. So I'm using the software to put all kind of plugins. So for example, this plugin is a special plugin that takes the sound of the room and cancel the echo. So I don't need to dry the room, which means I don't need to put all kind of sound cancelling bricks, and instead I'm doing it electronically. So this is really amazing. And the second thing that I'm using, Voice Meter Potato, which allows me to control all the inputs, decide on the levels, do all kind of effects and so on. This is one mic, and this mic, when I work on my normal job, I will use it. When I finish with that, I can just push it aside. And the second mic is this mic. Again, I use it only when I'm streaming, and when I finish with that, I can just push it away and it's out of the way, or I can leave it there. And again, both of those mics are controlled by this amazing Apollo Twin. Okay, so let's start actually from the secondary PC. So the secondary PC have 3 monitor outputs. Each monitor output have a splitter. So one side goes to the actual monitor and the other side go into the Atem Extreme. So basically I will look at the screen and I will see something here, and it will show on the Atem Extreme. So if I will decide to stream that screen or part of it, I will be able to do that. So that will be screen number 1, okay? The second screen will be a screen that I will use, but I'm not actually sending into the Atem Extreme directly, not directly. The third screen is a screen that I don't actually see, but I send to the Atem Extreme, and it's there as monitor number 2. This is the 1, this is monitor number 1, this is monitor number 2, and if I will just change it, I will see what it is. So it's moving from one side to another. This is actually number 3, input number 3, which is the camera behind the teleprompter. So we have the first PC, which is the secondary PC, and the job of that PC is to give me a background processing. Okay, now let's go to the main PC. The main PC have 4 screens, 4 physical screens, okay? The first screen is this one here, and I'm using this thing to get some information, to control the sound, and to do just normal day-to-day work. Then I have my main screen here. This is my main screen. And on my main screen, I will do emails, I will do writing, etc. Then I have this portable screen here. And this screen here is there to give me auxiliary information. And the fourth screen is the screen of the teleprompter. In the day-to-day, I don't really use the portable screen. but I use it when I stream, of course. Okay, all of that, including the Atem and including everything else, is controlled through this touch portal. I cannot say enough good things about touch portal. It's unbelievable. So for example, if I want to start all the things that I'm starting when I just come in the morning, I don't sit and start each program separately. I just press a button and it will start all the things that I want to start. Okay? And it's totally controlled by me. And it's really simple to set up, and they have amazing support, and it's just beautiful. What else do I have at the working station? Of course I have a keyboard, and this keyboard has the ability to control more than one computer, so obviously it controls this computer, and if I just change it from input number 1 to input number 3, it controls the secondary computer. And it has this thing that Logitech has this thing that's called flow, that if I move my mouse from one computer to another computer, the keyboard will move with it automatically. So I don't actually have to press any buttons, and it's moving from one computer to another. Because I have many screens, it's a little bit of a headache to move all the way to the corner, so I'm not really using it. What I'm using 2 mouses, and I'm just changing here quickly when I want to move from one computer to another. The second thing that I have here is a USB multiplexer. I have a recording device here, which is just a device that I had, so I keep it. I don't really use it because if I want to record anything, I'm using the voice meter, an amazing, unbelievable product. I should do a simple video to explain how it works, because if you try to figure out online how it works, you will get lost for 2 days. But it's really simple. You need 20 minutes to understand. If you fully understand it, if someone will explain it properly in 20 minutes, you'll have 100% understanding. So any recording that I want, I'm doing through this voice meter. I have another camera here, a Brio, a Logitech Brio. And the purpose of the Brio is sometimes I don't want to set up the whole setup of working with the main camera and looking straight at the person in the eyes through the teleprompter, etc. Let's say I want to do a Zoom call. I can press this thing and start a Zoom call. So what I will do, I will use this camera. So I can select that camera, and I selected this camera right now. And what I do, I just raise it. So the person, I still look at the person, it's still respectful towards the person, but because it's a small camera, etc., it doesn't affect me with working with what on the screen here, with this screen or with that screen, and I can divide my work between the screens, still looking at the person. It's really important to have this personal eye contact with the person, so I always put the person that I'm talking to right in front of the camera, and I talk to the camera, so it seems like I'm talking to him. And the results are much better connection, it's much more personal, and they of course smell it. Now, generally when I'm working here, everything is more dark. Everything around me is dark. So what I do, I dim all the main lights around me, and I hope you will see it in the video. So I dim all the main lights around me. This is one. So what I've done, I've installed underneath here LEDs, 24-volt LED, and underneath there bright LEDs that I can control from the bottom here, and I can set up the intensity that I want. So I can set up the intensity that I want, how bright I want it. And the same thing here, I can set up the intensity, how bright I want it. And generally, I like it in such a way that it's not so intense. I do that something. So I have enough light, but it's calm, and the attention is on the screens, not on everything that happens around me. Okay. Now, talking about lights, when I'm on camera, obviously one of the main things is to have good lighting. So we have here 2 amazing key lights. So I've got a key light here, and another one is side light, and then I have at the back here 3 different lights. And let's turn them off. They are all, of course, controlled remotely. So this is light number 1, this is light number 2, and here I have the backlight. This is the shadow light, and this is another backlight. Those lights have two purposes. The first purpose is to create just the atmosphere, but more important, when I'm using the green screen, a key for successful green screen operation is proper lighting of the green screen. And what I have here at the back is, as you can see, by press of a button, I have this green screen going down. And those lights make sure that the light on the green screen is constant. And the Atem Extreme, doing an extremely good job of keying out the green out of the pictures and putting you in without jumping, without all kind of weird thing that you usually see when you see some kind of a Zoom call or when Zoom doing it. Now granted, Zoom doing it without an actual green screen, which is quite amazing, but it's not high quality. If you do it with a green screen, if you do it properly with the proper lighting, the result is like wow, and we will see it shortly. We'll see how we're setting it up. And I like the fact that it's all nicely going up and down, so I can have the office as a presentable office with a nice logo, etc. And of course, the logo, like everything else in this office, the lights behind it is remotely controlled. So every day I have a different viewpoint on life, and based on that I put different atmosphere around the logo. Okay, let's move to the streaming section. Okay, welcome to my second home. Okay, the streaming section, the first thing that I do, I organize my setup here. So I have this thing is where I have my chat, etc. This is where I have my control. I'm generally not worried about these computers here and screens, although they're doing a lot of things, but I'm not worried about them because they are controlled. And since I don't really use those things, I move this mouse away. I put this mouse here, and I have a secret keyboard here. And this keyboard is what I use in an actual webinar or in an actual seminar, or when I do a Zoom call, or when I'm totally at streaming mode. Okay, so let's count how many screens we actually have, how many inputs. So I have on the secondary computer 3 screens. Then I have the boss system, which is a screen. Then I have the main computers that have 4 screens. So I'm now on 8. Then I have the iPad, which is 9. Then I have another iPad, which is 10. Then I have the camera, which is 11, because the camera is just an HDMI input, yes? It's 11. And then I have just one more thing, or actually 2 more things. I have the Brio, which I convert into an HDMI, and I have a device from Blackmagic that I can transmit data across a LAN or across any network. So I can transmit from here to another office in a different country, in Florida, and they will get that streaming at an amazing quality, and I can use it for recording. So that's a lot of screens. Now the key for all this thing is, obviously, cable management. If you don't manage your cables in an amazing way, the mess is unbelievable because there are a lot of cables. Let's go and have a look. Welcome to cable management. So what we have here is, I have the computer, okay? And there's a lot of things that coming into the computer. That's one hub of cables, and there are a lot of things that going into the back of the Atem. All of this thing needs to be organized because otherwise you will have here mess of cables. So how do I do that? You can look here at the bottom, and I think I can help you with some light. I have here all kind of power strips. All of them are controlled wirelessly, okay? And then every single cable is glued. So when I'm running the cable, I'm running them one by one and I'm gluing them, and you'll see that they're all glued. I put double-sided tape. Generally, I'm using clear double-sided tape, and I'm running the double-sided tape and I'm gluing those cables in as straight as possible method. What I have here is also an amazing idea. I have here a place to put all my hard drives and to put other stuff, but many times when you have such kind of a shelf, what you have a problem that you leave here a small space for the cable, and the plug cannot go through it. So if I want to put the plug down, it cannot go through. Or if I want to put a connection with the plug up, it cannot go through. So what I've done, I've put a hole here with enough space to the cable to go through. So I can put a plug in and move the cable through the hole and through here and move it into wherever I want. You get the idea? So this is an amazing idea on how to solve this thing. Now another thing that I have is this kind of a cage down. So all the extra cable I'm putting into this cage. So when I have extra cable, I'm putting into this cage. And as you can see underneath here, we have a party. It is fun. Those things are switches or HDMI splitters. There are all kind of power supplies. There are all kind of extensions. There is a party. And that's about cable management, part one. We'll always need some cable on top of the desk. And what I do, the same idea, there's two types of cables that I have. I have cables that needs to be moved. So I'm using those things that I can change the distance. So this is for cables that need to be moved, so I can actually move them. And cables that don't need to be moved, there is double-sided tape again, and I'm gluing them exactly to the position where they need to be at. I always leave a little bit of extra because things are moving. But again, I'm gluing. Everything gets glued with double-sided tapes. So everything is hidden as much as possible, and when it's not hidden, straight and glued. That's your motto. Okay, now let's talk about muscles. The arms. The arms are the arms that holding the different screens. So the first thing is this thing. Usually when you buy from Amazon or wherever, you buy those arms. The problem with them is that they're too low. If you want a screen that will be at your height, you need to raise them. So what I've done, I created from a stainless steel this kind of thing that has a bracket here that stop it. And I've got this one because this one used to be, I used to use it as two arms separate. Later on I didn't. So what you have these holes here, and I can move this thing to be at any position that I want, okay? The screens are sitting on this stand, and the second one sitting on that stand. As you can see, I've done them in 3 parts because if I wanted to do something a bit lower, I could, without having something sticking up here, but eventually, obviously, I needed to have it at that size. Now let's look from the other side for a second. What I want is, I want to be able to look at my screen, and I want to be able not to, if it will be here, I will be all the time looking down. I want to sit straight, and that the screen will be right in front of me. For that, the screen needs to be high. And that's why you need this special arms, special poles, because without this, with the normal arms, with this very short pole, it's not tall enough, it's not high enough. So this is what I've done for here, and that worked amazing. Second arm, teleprompter arm was a mission. The problem was that I wanted a big teleprompter, big screen. I didn't want this small 10-inch screen that you can hardly see. I wanted a full-size screen, big teleprompter. Big teleprompter is heavy, and if you want the ability to adjust it, it's a mess. So what I've done, I took what you get, which is just this thing, and I've added here a support, and I've put an arm here, and I can change here the size by pressing it up and down. So I can define in which angle it is to me, in which angle it is towards the wall, and I can adjust whatever I want, and you'll say, why do you need to adjust it? Because you do. Nothing stays the same in this universe. One time you think that this is the height that you want, another time you think this is the height. Sometimes you interview someone, so you want more of an angle. You want to be able to change. You don't want to be locked in a relationship that you cannot get out of with a teleprompter. It's not even a blonde. Microphone arms. I'm using the same microphone arm here. I actually don't remember the make of that arm, but I will find out and I will tell you. But the microphone that I'm using is the only microphone to use. I've tried different microphones. I'm using the Shure SM7B, the only microphone to use. It's an amazing microphone, but you need cloud lifter, which is a kind of an amplifier to actually push the very faint signal that it gives into the Apollo. Or alternatively, you need some kind of a preamplifier that can be done by software. I'm using a combination of two. The reason I'm using the cloud lifter is because it gives you a very clean input. Okay, the monitor. This monitor is monitoring the Atem Extreme, and it's obviously you can set it up as you want, but it's basically showing you what happened on each camera or on each input, what you're sending out. And specifically for the Atem Extreme, there's something that's called super source, which I'm using a lot. So I'm getting here the view of the super source. Super source basically is a tool that allows you to put a few inputs together, generally 4, but you can get to 6, and move them around and change them. So when you press a button, when I press this button, you'll see that if you look here, actually, when I press a button, it's changing and moving, and it's not just jumping abruptly. So this whole thing is done through macros, macros, macros. Easy, simple. You just need to understand simple, very, very simple few principles, and you can actually handle those macros. I will do probably a separate videos on macros. Now let's talk about the desk. The desk is a full hardwood, blah, 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 wonderful. The most important thing about this desk is, so what I've done here, I took an extension out from the bottom. And why is it? Because I needed to hold all kind of things. So I wanted on the one hand very thick desk, and on the other hand I wanted something that could be held, that is usually not as thick, and I didn't want to destroy the top of the desk. So when I need to drill something like I've drilled with these other arms, I didn't want to destroy the desk. So I just took an extension out, and everything is on that extension. So this is one, and let me show you the other one. And this is the other part. The other part, again, I have this extension here that comes underneath. It allows me place to run the cables, something to put stuff on, but the most important thing, all the holes, all the cables running, nothing go through the actual desk. So if in the future I want to change it, or it getting damaged, I just need to change this one piece of wood with a few screws underneath, release it, get something else, and the desk stays nice and clean and beautiful, like in the day that I was thinking about it. This whole thing work, other than the amazing view of heaven, Cape Town, is the atmosphere, is composed of few parts. Number one, everything is organized, everything has its place. Nothing sits randomly somewhere. Everything has its place. Every cable has its place. It's running in a specific place, straight. Everything has its place. That's number one. Number two, the lights. LEDs around, low lights. It gives this wow feeling. But all of that is almost nothing if the smell is not handled. And what I have here all kinds of units that continuously, all day long, put out smell. Depends on my mood. Sometimes it's eucalyptus, sometimes it's orange, sometimes it's whatever. And candles that I turn on at night that also put out smells. Now to round this whole thing, of course, is Turkish coffee and nice music. And once all this thing comes together, you have wow. And with this kind of wow, you don't want to go to sleep. You just want to produce and produce and produce. And production makes you happy. And why does it make you happy? Because when you produce for someone else. And at that moment, when you do something for someone else, when you bring value to someone else, you help another. And that is your basic purpose, to help someone else. And what I gave you is how to set up the best, most amazing, most wow setup for webinars, for Zoom calls, for communicating to others on a massive level. Meir Ezra, thank you.